I think it's rare these days to find people that are kind of like-minded that also push you.
Yeah.
Never would have thought I'd been my barber. So just thank you for being that guy, man.
Nah, man, anytime.
For sure.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to A Seat Worth Taking. We are here with a client friend of mine, Zach Davis. I met him about 10 years ago, right?
Yeah.
The guy's pretty fast, real fast.
Had a football scholarship to Ashland, went there for a semester. School for me wasn't really my jam, but the biggest turning point for me was I started doing the engineering stuff, then I got an opportunity to go to California, and that was a huge culture shock. I needed that. When I met you, coming back from California, it was like, oh, this dude's like me. He's trying to do something. And the fact that you started so young, how did you know at 18, 19 that this is what you wanted to do?
So 15 is when I picked up a pair of clippers.
Okay.
I started cutting my own hair because the guy I was going to, he did a good job, but I pay attention to details. And the haircut I was getting at the time, it was like a 3-guard, 4-guard. He would just pass it once on the top and like taper on the side. And every time I get home, I had stubbles. So I hated it. So I started, cleaning that up, and I started realizing, hey, this is something I like doing. Around sophomore year, I started just cutting, family, myself. And then junior year, I'm like, start cutting friends. Football friends, just friends in general. I'm like, this is something I love doing.
Yeah.
And I seen a different side of me. Like I don't talk to people really. Like I don't, like outside of cutting hair or anything like that, I'm just to myself. So I seen a different side of me. I'm like, this is awesome. And I just want to pursue that and see more of it. And just seeing people in my chair and realizing everybody has a story and it's so different. I get to interact with that. That's where it kind of like started and sparked that fire.
Yeah.
And then in the junior year, I'm like, this is what I want to do, because I was cutting like in the garage for $5 a haircut. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But I started seeing like the turnover of like, oh, I'm cutting 10 people a day. I'm like, okay, 10 plus X amount plus a year. I started doing simple math, what we call. And I'm like, hold up, if I can do this later down the road, I can make good money. And I researched it. They said only barbers make about like 30 to 40 grand a year. I'm like, that's not a lot of money, but I love what I'm doing. So that's where it kind of started from, really.
Yeah. It's and I admire you for that, because as of now, me and my wife, we started our own business.
Yeah.
Because I've been super successful in corporate. I'm not college educated, but I make 6 figures. In today's world, that means nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, I still feel like I'm I need more. But like going, I realized real quick that the 40-year plan wasn't for me.
Yeah.
And I feel like for you kind of figured that out.
Yeah, school wasn't for me. So like you mentioned earlier, my brother, right? He's 4 years older than me. So I got to see the transition of him graduating high school and going to college for 4 years. I see how he had friends, went to no friends, to like, I'm seeing him go to college, like struggling in certain things. I'm like, I'm not going down that route.
Right.
Like, I just don't see myself doing it. I'm not going to waste my time. I'm not going to waste money.
Right.
I'm not going to waste my parents' money because they don't have money. So it's like, you know how that goes. They take out loans and now they're in the hole.
Right.
So I didn't want to do that to myself or to my parents. So I just kind of really kept it real to myself. And what I did, I wrote down what I like to do and love to do, And what I love to do is what I really focused on. And that's kind of how that happened, really.
Yeah.
Of just like, I'm just going to stick to something different, and I don't care what anybody said. And I remember one time this guy was like, it's like senior year. Like, bro, you're an outcast. Because I was just cutting hair already. Like, I stopped playing sports and They're like, what are you going to do? I'm like, I'm going to go to barber school and get my license. They're like, dude, that's lame.
Yeah.
I'm talking about 15 years ago.
Well, especially
16.
when we went to school.
Yeah. I mean, but barbering wasn't a thing either back then. Now it's like people look up to it. Back then it's like, dude, you're nothing,
Yeah.
So like, just kind of really stuck to my gut, really.
Yeah.
On that.
And that's what I love about your story. I absolutely love about your story. And I think there's a reason why I've kept you in my life, just because you stood on business.
Yeah.
You didn't care what the critics said, what the family said. And, now that I'm on my entrepreneurial journey, like you realize like you have to have this undeniable belief in yourself.
Yeah.
Because life's going to life.
Well,
Yeah.
And the thing is, nobody really gets to see the vision the way you're looking at it.
Right.
That's something you have to understand. And anybody who's trying to jump out there and do their own thing, like, you have to understand, like, you see it, and not everybody else is going to see it. And that's something that I had to learn as well, even though I already knew, but when the dream or the picture got bigger.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah.
So what types of things did you do whenever, let's say family, friends, like, they're people in high school,
Mm-hmm.
how did you insulate your mind and follow through on the dream that you had?
I just literally just did not care what anybody else said.
Yeah.
Like and when you're in high school and at that age, you always worried about what friends say. But again, like I grew up different. I moved from Puerto Rico to Middletown, Ohio.
Yeah.
So like I was already getting judged already. At first grade. That's when I moved here when I was in first grade. I was already looked different, all these things. Because at that time there's not a lot of Hispanics in the area. So that kind of helped me out when I got older. Yeah. Like that was already a thing. I already knew about that. I already felt that, So I was already the outcast. In a sense of like I was the only Puerto Rican, right? Then we have white kids, black kids, right? I try to make friends with the white kids. They don't, we don't fit. I try to make friends with the black kids. I don't fit. You know what I mean? So like that was already a thing. So I was already kind of like used to it. Yeah. So I just stuck to what I know.
Yeah, it's funny, man. Like you would think that like in that time when you're young, very impressionable moment.
Yeah.
But the fact that you turn that into fuel.
Yeah.
For the future, you know what I mean? That's incredible.
Yeah.
But, I feel like for me being white, I went to Rosedale. Predominantly white. I think we had 2 black kids, the whole school, 1 Asian.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why California was so big for me.
Yeah.
Because like, where we come from at the time, for me, it was more black and white. I'm a little older than you. The Hispanics came, but like, my perspective of the world was so small. It was very black and white. You know? And I guess for me, I was super lucky. My dad, playing Pee Wee football and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
My dad would go pick up the kids from downtown, take them to practice, buy them cleats, buy them food. So I grew up seeing there was no shade of color.
Right.
What I mean? So for me, nickname, they call me White Chocolate, Great White Hope, all that different stuff, right? I got accepted, into the black community essentially. And it all had to do with ball. Initially, but then like my dad showed me a different level, like, hey man, you need to be grateful for what you have. You live over here. My dad grew up where they grew up, and he just taught me something really young, and I'm so glad that he did that because I didn't see the shades.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I'm super thankful for that. Middletown has a lot of things.
Yeah.
But man, it gave me a lot of street smarts. It gave me a lot of common sense.
Yeah, and that's what it gives you.
They
don't give you the best knowledge, studying, but everything else that it gives to you, especially in a classroom setting. Yeah. It's diverse.
Yeah.
You're sitting in a room with 25 kids and they all have different stories. It's not the same story.
Yeah.
Compared to other schools. But yeah, that's a little bit about Zach and how he grew up. First and foremost, man, I want to say on my end, you've been, again, not just a client, a friend, and something that put me I'm like, this dude is real. And it really stuck to my heart is like when you invited me to your wedding and just let me be a part of that special moment. And it wasn't like a close wedding, right? It was South Carolina. Yeah. We had a golf tournaments. We, let me cut your hair, the groomsman. And that really meant a lot to me because a lot of people see what I do and they just don't really understand. Really as a barber, you're pouring into everybody else. Yeah. And that cup gets empty. And sometimes some people don't value what they have, as a barber or something like that. Like, dang, and for you to step out your way and like, hey man, you've been special to my life. I want you to come out.
Absolutely.
And be a part of this. That meant the world to me. And I've done 2 or 3 of them. That's it, And they've been good close friends that I built, just cutting hair. So I do appreciate that, man.
Dude, it was an awesome experience. I mean, there was no way that I was gonna let somebody else touch my head.
Yeah.
For one, we were doing a destination wedding, and I knew that would thin the herd a little bit, just because a lot of people can't travel, whatever. But I knew you, and I knew that you traveled, and I knew that you, if you can make it work, with the business, you would. So that's why, I went all out. I got on one knee. I gave you a pair of barber dunks.
2 of them.
Both pair, the black and the white pair, because you are important. to me, and I was so thankful that we could work that out, because that whole day of like, he was literally, you're literally cutting me and we're looking at the water, like on the balcony. It was just like, it was just
boats passing by. I'm like, this is surreal. What I mean?
It was hot as hell too.
It
was hot. It was really warm that morning. I was like trying not to sweat, but I wouldn't have had it any other way, bro. Ever.
It was awesome. So
I appreciate you cutting us and making time for that.
That's what I'm here for. I always tell people that, right? That's what I'm here for. I'm just here to give and just, provide for whatever way I can. So and you've always done that. I mean, you look back at all the community service you've done in Middletown, and the example that you're setting. I mean, I think you see me post stuff like this. Leadership is spelled EXAMPLE, and that is what you do. Thank you.
You've always been that kind of beacon in Middletown specifically. But I think for me, just seeing the community efforts and stuff like that. So for you to be able to serve me on my special day meant a lot, man. So
that's dope. Thank you. No, I mean, it was a great experience overall, like meeting the family for the first time. Everybody was just super welcoming. So thank you for letting me be a part of it, man.
Well, you had just gotten you'd just kind of gotten the golf bug too.
You'd
just gotten the golf bug. So I was like, okay, we're gonna do a little scramble. And
and again, like, it's crazy, right? Because from that, just serving and just being a friend, I ended up meeting other people that kind of I knew of, or they knew of me, and now they're clients. And it's crazy how that works. Just, you serve your needs by serving others. And that's one of my mentors' quote. So I'm not going to steal it. I'm not stealing it. But, and I live like that too. So like, it was just dope to like, just be around that and like grow from that as well.
Well, I mean, you know this, and I didn't realize this till I got on my entrepreneur journey, but I think I mentioned it earlier. Your network is your net worth. And I didn't realize the value of my network for years. And then once you start building something, me and my wife were doing this business together, which is also awesome. Your wife and you too. To be able to build something together, I think it reinforces the marriage, makes it positive. You guys are working towards something that no one can take from you.
For sure.
I've been pretty successful in corporate, but that doesn't mean that tomorrow that they say, hey, see ya. You know what I mean? Like, I have no control over that. So that made it scary. I got a son on the way, due any day. What am I building for him?
For sure.
And you had all of that. And that's what blows my mind, because you had all that insight young, dude.
That's the thing. I never realized until now. I hit my 30s. I'm 31 now. And like the first in my 20s, I just head down, do as much as I can and figure it out and fail as much. That's the biggest thing. People don't want to fail.
Right. True.
Like, I failed so many times, people didn't get to see that, and now I'm in a different situation where, like, I'm starting to look back. I'm like, dang, I'm doing a lot, or did a lot more than I even expected, or even I should be doing at this moment. And my whole purpose was, obviously there's a certain part it was for me, but truly deep down was to show people in our area that this is possible.
And I think
and clients too,
and I think the people in our area needed that. Because there was no examples. People would just leave, and that was kind of it. And they never really came back. And you were in an example in the trenches, an example for them. One thing you said that I really liked was success requires failing, essentially. Because a lot of people think the opposite of success is failing. And that's not the truth. The opposite of success is quitting. And that's something you never did.
And I've had tough, situations, but we made them through, and we're at where we're at now. I mean, doing a podcast right now, so it's awesome.
I can remember one specific situation. You were going through a lot of growth, and then things switched real quick, and to watch you handle that, I know I didn't say it all the time, but I like watching you walk through that. Has gave me a lot of hope for my business, because it is the seasons, dude.
And that's why I share. I talk to my wife about it. She gets on me and says, "You're always sharing too much to the clientele, right?" I'm like, no. The thing is, like, I want for them to see what I really go through, because they see the outside things. Oh, he's always cutting. Oh, he's always busy. He's doing this, that. But I share like all these moments because I want them to really see how tough it really is sometimes, and how great it could be sometimes. So like going through that, it sucked. It really did, because that's one of the moments that I had control, but I did have control in a certain way, and I had to learn how to just sit back instead of if you know me, I'm like full force.
Yeah.
I'm going forward.
Yep.
I couldn't do it this time. I had to literally sit down on the couch and just kind of wait it out, but still show up every day.
Yeah.
Even going through it, you know? And like with you, I was sharing a lot of stuff that was going through my mind. And I even told you, I think too, like after 6 months, I'm done. Like I'm done doing this crap. Remember that?
Yep.
Like now it's like, no, like let's keep pushing forward. Let's, you know, build and all this stuff. But I've shared because I know you're also building. I know you're trying to do your own things. Like you're going to go through this.
Yeah.
And yeah, just want
That's what's been pivotal. I think, I'm also 4 years sober. Went through kind of a time in my life.
Yeah.
But I think that people relate to the brokenness. They don't relate to the perfection.
Yeah.
And that's what helps me, learn from you is the fact that like everybody sees you, everybody, this world with social media and stuff like that, like have your opinion about it. But we only see highlight reels.
Oh yeah.
You never see the dark nights and the early mornings and the no sleeps and all that kind of stuff. You just see these highlight reels. So like for me, when I share my story or I talk to people or I talk to you, like I'm gonna tell you the truth.
Yeah.
Because if I don't, then I'm missing a rep of possibly learning something from you.
Yeah.
For
me, it's like it's that plus like, what if I'm helping that person go through something?
Facts.
Or just give them a little gem to just be like, oh, that's all I needed to wake up the next day.
Yep.
That's my my thing. And talking about you being sober, like I remember when you first talked to me about it, and I remember then and now, and it's just so dope seeing that transition.
You see me at my lowest, bro.
Yeah.
You were cutting my hair and I was a bag of bones, like 125 pounds. Like I was a mess.
Yeah. But it's dope, now, right? Looking at it and seeing the transformation you made for yourself. Not just physically, right? Because you're like a gym head now. Like you're in there 24/7. But also the way you carry yourself and the way you analyze things and the way you think more positive. I think when you first started coming, you were battling with it, right?
Oh yeah, facts.
And you were coming in and doing your thing and kind of, dipping out, right? And living life. But then like, that's when you moved, right?
Yep.
And I remember the day he's like, hey, this is about my last haircut. You told me what's going on. You dipped out, obviously, for the good.
I think I left like 2 days later.
Yeah.
I think it was that quick.
Yeah. And we kept in contact every once in a while. And, I didn't even know you came back. You just popped up in my chair like, hey, I'm back. And I could tell the transition that you made. And it was just so dope being able to see that. And you asking me questions, like you always do. And being able to grow with that, I feel like, it's helped me out too, in a sense. And that's what people don't realize. It goes both ways, right? Like, because I was like that in my early 20s. I was just cutting hair, going to barber school, building a shop, but then I was also wanted to have the young life and I just had a kid. Yeah. But then I quickly realized like this doesn't work. Yeah. And being able to share that just a little bit and being able to see you grow out of it, it was just amazing to, not compare, but just be able to see, how we both went through the similar situations and just grow out of it,
Yeah, well, it was, sobriety was the hardest thing, but also the best thing.
Yeah.
I had 30 days, man. Don't get me wrong. I was in California, in San Clemente, beautiful view.
Oh yeah.
It was very stereotypical, sober kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I had a choice, man. I only had to be there for 5 days. I chose to be there for 30. It took about 4 days for me to kind of like detox and kind of get out of my, polluted head. And then that's really when I can't remember the book I was reading. It was a religious book about sports.
Yeah.
And I was like, I need that connection with God. So that's kind of when the work started. Every person I was in rehab with, all of them have relapsed. Every single one of them. And
what do you think that's from?
I think it's faith. I think that God chose me and put me in that place because he needed my attention. And, I latched onto that. I didn't grow up in a Christian home. My brother is a youth pastor now, but we didn't really grow up like going to church or anything like that. But that's the only common denominator I can think of that got me through, that period. And then once I got out of rehab, I immediately got in the gym. I'm an athlete. So at that point I hadn't worked out in 10 years.
Right.
And athlete is in my DNA. So I was really denying myself and wondering why I was having issues. It's like, well, like you're being yourself.
Not being yourself. Trying to be somebody.
Yeah, I was trying to live up to expectations, whether it was my parents or my coworkers or a girlfriend at the time. Like, and it was why the friction was happening.
Gotcha.
Because really, I was destined for this, but I was like fighting it along the way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So God had to say, hey, no phones, no nothing for 30 days. And when I got out of rehab, I hired a trainer. Not that I needed one, I didn't have to work out, but I needed the accountability.
Right.
I was building myself back from ground zero. I had zero confidence, you know. I won't say I was depressed, but like just not in a good
state of mind.
You know, I always knew I was meant for more, and I was settling for less, you know, for a long time.
Yeah.
And finally, like rehab just finally cleared my head, cleared the cobwebs out, and I said, okay, this is where we're going.
That's dope.
And the gym was a huge cornerstone of that. I mean, my daily routine, bro. I go to the gym in the morning. I read and listen every 30 minutes reading, 30-minute podcast. I'm taking notes. That is just the cornerstones and the foundation of my day. And
that's something I've seen. See you grow. Like you're really into the book side of things, right? Yeah. And you come up with like
that's where the advantage is.
Huh?
The books are where the advantage is.
Yeah.
There's no difference in someone who is illiterate and someone who chooses not to read. Mm. We have so much resources and so many books and so many things. I wasn't a reader, bro. I was not a reader. I was a memorized spelling bee champion. Yeah. You know, like I can read the list and like I can memorize words, memorize the definitions. But if I took a test right after I took that first test, I'd fail. Gotcha. You know, that's kind of like how I worked. I never read.
Right.
And my mentors, they threw a couple books at me. Business of the 21st Century, Cash Flow Quadrants when we were getting into our business, and Paradigm Shift.
Gotcha.
Paradigm Shift.
Gotcha. No, so my question right now is, it's always the same question. What's going on? What's been going on in your life?
Man, we're expecting our first baby boy.
Okay. Congrats.
Yeah, we're super excited about it. I was telling you before this, my wife's ready. She's like, get him out.
Yeah.
His name's Woodson, named after Charles Woodson, huge Michigan fan.
Okay.
Shout out to the real national champions, 0-4. But yeah, that's that. And, kind of in this funny season of work, I work fully remote. It's trying to, that's been a blessing and a curse at the same time. The gym is still a cornerstone. Been kind of slacking a little bit, honestly, just trying to prep for the baby. Things have kind of shifted. So it's gonna be real interesting to see when he comes.
Yeah.
Like I have, I'm a very system person. Like I have systems in my life, so I don't have to remember things.
Right.
And I put my keys in the same place.
Way. I'm the same way.
Wallet in the same place. This is part of our success, right?
Yeah.
And so it's gonna be real interesting to see how I navigate that change. You got any advice for that?
And I've been warning you. Get ready for no sleep.
Yep.
Remember that for a couple years. It's a lot mentally because you're trying to. It's a big shift, right, in your life. And I didn't know how to deal with it because I was so young. I was just like, there's just so much going on, da da da. But, how to understand there's going to be a lot of obstacles and be patient with yourself, with your significant other, and the newborn. Because I think that's where in the first 6 months, it gets real testy.
Yeah.
Because you're going through certain changes. Your wife is going through certain changes. And now you're adding, to the family.
Yeah.
So patience and communication.
Bro, the last time I paid for patience, that was a test, bro.
But really, that's really what it, those, I always tell people that's in general, really, in a lot of things. Just be patient in communication. Because it's a big shift. So you have to have the patience to understand it's not going to happen at the time you want to.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to set your keys in your phone as you want. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And the communication part, right? It's like if you just hold everything in, what happens?
Build up.
So it's understanding when to have those conversations because you're not going to have that free time anymore like you did.
Yeah.
So that's something I struggled in the beginning, Yeah.
So how did you navigate? I mean, you had your son, right?
Mm-hmm.
Firstborn.
Yeah.
You had him pretty young and you're also building a business. So how did you just keep showing up? I mean, how did you balance all of that?
I didn't know how I balanced it. Looking back at it, I just woke up. I always tell people I woke up, tied my shoes, and I just headed out and figured it out. And I just gave 100%.
Yeah.
At the time, we just figured out how to work through things. It was just crazy, honestly. We just got done barber school. She just graduated college. Went to work at a shop for a year. and then decided to open up a shop.
Yeah.
And then I had another kid right after that, I just head down, tied my shoes, and went forward, and knew that it's going to be real hard, but I just kept it down,
Yeah,
kept moving
that's
forward.
why I've kind of come, at least for me, like you just gotta show up.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's many,
That's the hard, like it's the hardest but easiest thing to do for
Yeah.
people. Just show up,
Yeah.
even on the crappiest day.
Yeah.
You know.
Even people like they're asking like, how do you train every day? I'm like, man, the heaviest weight in the gym is the front door.
Yeah.
And like not every one of my workouts are great,
Right.
but I went. It may have been 10%.
And that's where I'm at right now. I'm getting myself back into healthier shape.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I just gotta show up right now. That's all I gotta do. I've done it for other things.
Yeah.
Right now, I need to do that for the rest of my life because I want to. I want to be more healthier for family, for friends, just everything in general. So
yeah, I mean, for me too, I'm a type 1 diabetic. So I found out I was type 1 like 28. Which is really, really crazy, right?
Yeah.
Like I was in California at the time. I was living in San Diego, passed out on Chipotle. EMTs were literally on their lunch break behind me.
Dang.
It was like the craziest thing. I woke up and they're like, "Are you diabetic?" And I'm like, "No." Like, I'm not, They tested my sugars are like 256. Like, you should go to the hospital. I'm like, no. And I go slam a burrito, because I had no idea. I was scared to death, man. I lost 40 pounds. I was eating 6,000 calories a week or a day.
Yeah.
And I lost 40 pounds.
Wow.
And I was working out 6 days a week.
Dang.
I was scared to death. I thought I had cancer, something else crazy. That was, and then
Serious,
so I was scared to go to the doctor. And then finally, after that instance, I did. And the doctor in California was like, do you not go to the do you not have doctors in Ohio? Like he was kind of, because like for out there, they think I have like a twang. What I mean? So they think I'm like some hill jack, It's so funny because they love the way that we talk. It's actually kind of funny, but he just kind of laughed at me. And I'm like, dude, I was an athlete. I was a 3-sport athlete. I don't know if I was just burning that sugar up and just never really had issues. But then finding out I was type 1, like that was another challenge, like my whole life changed as far as, my diet, things like that. So that was like the first, I think, major like thing that I had to work through, and I didn't do it perfect. I mean, I really struggled changing. But then like you come to this point where you're just like, this is not that bad. It could always be worse.
Yeah.
What I mean? So now it's just part of my day.
Part of life.
It's just part of what I do. I got an insulin pump. I got all the technology. It's actually really great right now. But that's why I work out, because now I can eat a Big Mac. It'll burn it up. You know what I mean? So working out allows me to eat more. And more freely. I'm not a big fad diet guy. I don't do keto. I don't do carnivore. Because like for me, like I want to eat when I want to eat, and I don't want to be like confined into if I have a piece of pizza, who cares? I'm gonna go bust my ass tomorrow at the gym.
Gotcha.
Because I think people they put themselves in a box with these fad diets, and is it sustainable? Can you live like this the rest of your life?
No, it's impossible.
Because you got, I'm not gonna go into that, but you have all these fad diet things, and drugs out there that there's no cheat code.
Right.
You build a business. I'm building it. There's no cheat code.
No,
at all.
No, there's no. You have to grind it out.
Yeah. So, and in our case, like I'm glad that I had enough foresight to get a mentor when we started our business. I think that you met people probably after you started, maybe.
Yeah, it was a little tough. I didn't meet my mentor until like 2 years into the business.
Okay. And
it wasn't like the best in a sense. Like he was great, but like I didn't have full. I could reach out to him right away, So I had to learn, and I still learn about myself a lot, nowadays.
Yeah.
But it's been awesome.
And that's like, I mean, I think me and you're a lot of line. I mean, two totally different businesses. Mine's health and wellness. Yours is a barbershop, but it's interesting because we both recognize that, hey man, like we need somebody to kind of show us the way a little bit.
Well, the thing is, like a lot of people want to do it by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing in this world that's been done by one man, by one woman. There's always help one way or another.
Right.
And the young generation, they think they have to do all by themselves and nobody can help them out, or, they want to have that type of light. And the reality is like where I'm at, it's not because I did certain hard work. I woke up, did what I had to do. But if it wasn't for God, if it wasn't for my wife really supporting and like, hey, go after, hey, I'm there, hey, I'll be a stay-at-home mom. Hey, I'll do whatever I got to do in mine to make sure you're living this dream that you're looking, for, like if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here, right? if it wasn't for the friends and clients that I built over time, I wouldn't be where I'm at either, you know?
Yeah, but I think that you and your wife were aligned from the jump.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like it never felt like a sacrifice or really because you were building something together.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, she wasn't in the chair,
Right.
but she was still doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that supported your guys' family business.
And that's how it kind of went. Like we just sat down and like, hey, this is what I have vision. Are you okay with it? Can we do it? Should I go for it? I'll help you out as much as I can and whatever I can help you out with and knowledge wise. And that's how kind of it went. She doesn't get a lot of praise for it, but the reality is if it wasn't for her, like none of this would be, you know, possible.
Yeah.
And same thing with barbers in the past and now. Like if it wasn't for them, some of this stuff wouldn't be possible. Just being able to be around, you know, people that are similar minded. I wouldn't say like minded, but similar.
Yeah.
And then with clients, just be able to have the great clientele that I've been able to build. Yeah. And support, you know.
Yeah. Dude, you're the only barber I know that's opens at 7. Like I love the fact that I can come get my hair cut by you before work.
Yeah.
Right after like it's I mean, like your business model and just what you've done, man, it aligns a lot with me.
Yeah. Know? So I've learned early when I first started cutting hair at the first barbershop. I was slow in the beginning, but once I start turning the wheels, I found out there's people who work their shift and there's businessmen that need haircuts. And I'm like, okay, if I sacrifice 2 to 3 hours earlier than any other barber, then I can get those clientele in my chair.
Yeah.
And what happened was they're more consistent. They value and appreciate you for doing that. So the worth or the tips that they give you is, you know, it's a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is a thing that why not other barbers are doing it? And it's because mentality is the barber shop. It's a hobby. You come in, do whatever you think. I just like, I'm not here for me. I'm here for the clients. So I figured that out very early. And I just love coming in at 7 in the morning, have great conversations with great people. And I used to call it 7 a.m. club, you know, because it's sacrifice for both. It's like we're the true grinders, you know, either are leaving work or going into work. Yeah. So like, that's how that came about, you know. And,
but that little decision, look what that did.
Yeah.
For your business and the people that you got connected to, because you know, it is true. Like there's a lot of times where like, if I'm really busy, I'm actually operating at a way higher level when I feel very busy versus when I have free time, you know, or just kind of floating around kind of thing. So I think tapping into that market of businessmen or people getting off third shift, to me, that was a major move that most people won't get out of their comfort zone to do. Yeah. They don't want to wake up that early, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah.
And like people are like, you're a morning person. Like I never was a morning person, never intended to be a morning person. Like I wake up at 5 every day. Yeah. And it's like, I just built myself to be that, you know, and that's what, when I hear people, I'm not a morning person, it's like, you can be a morning person. Are you willing to make the sacrifices at night?
Right.
And go to sleep early, you know, and, you know, be able to do what you need to do before 10 o'clock.
Yeah. My thing is if you're not a morning person, your why is not big enough.
Yeah, true. You know? That is true.
Because like, I mean, don't get me wrong, you didn't always feel super motivated to go.
Right.
You know? But like that discipline and consistency over time trumps your emotions.
Yeah.
So you just get up and do it. Get up and do it. Get up and do it. Some days are great, some days aren't, but you're doing it. You're showing up, you know, and it's because you're why.
Yeah.
You know, this is your stuff.
And sometimes I do feel like that because we're all humans, right? Walking into the building, but as soon as that person sits in my chair, all that goes away within seconds. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, back to what I love to do. Let's do it. Let's rock on, you know?
Well, you remember stuff too, dude. Like we'll have conversations. I mean, I usually get my haircut like every 3 to 4
weeks.
So
I'll tell you a funny thing about that, all right? I can remember everybody's story, what they've been through, event. Like I had a guy come in this week. I haven't seen him in 6 months. I was like, hey, how was Tennessee? He's like, you remember that? I'm like, yeah. But in the back of my mind, I don't even remember his name. That's the messed up part. But yeah, I don't know if it's just something in my mind or what it is that I can remember. And I think it's because I value people really and what they're doing. And like I really do, like when you told me the steps you take in your life, like I'm genuinely happy. Like when you have different careers and stuff like that and you're moving up, I'm like, dude, that is so dope. Yeah. But I just really focus on that. To me, that's like more important in a way. Not saying that people think I'm not important.
Yeah.
But because I'm back-to-back haircuts too, I'm more focused on them.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's crazy. But I do remember a lot of people's,
Yeah.
what they got going on in their lives.
I mean, there's a lot of separators.
Yeah.
For me, for you. But that's another one. It's just like that person. I mean, you got a great clips, $5 haircut. They may nick you, and they
Yeah.
don't know you. You're just a number.
Yeah.
You're just a transactional relationships. And I think a lot of, I mean, at least for me, I realized when I got into business, like a lot of my relationships were transactional.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'll do this for you if you do this for me. I'll come visit you.
That's
if you're
corporate though, ain't it?
Yeah. But even like in regular world, I mean, like we have friends on Facebook. It's all transactional.
Yeah.
Those people aren't with you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like they have no emotional investment in you.
Yeah.
Majority of the time, and they're giving you this advice and all this different stuff,
Mhm.
and it's just like very transactional. And that's something I've really been working on the past years, just like finding a way to get deeper with people and connecting with people. Because I was the same way, like being an athlete in Middletown, I didn't have to talk to people; they came to me. You know, so the skill set of actually connecting with people has been hard for me.
Gotcha.
I thought it would be easier. I mean, because I talk to you, right? Like we connect, we know each other, but like going out and meeting somebody at Target and like actually genuinely having a conversation and connecting with them, I realized I sucked at it. You know, so the fact that you have people in your chair, I guess you're a little more like in a phone booth kind of thing, so you don't want to be awkward, but you have those skills, you know,
I appreciate
being able to connect, and that's huge.
Yeah, and again, it just came out of nowhere. I wasn't like,
Yeah,
I'm not really that guy sometimes, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you sharing some of your story. We'll do this again, man. Honestly.
Yeah, bro. I appreciate the opportunity, man.
Yeah.
This is so dope.
No
and
problem.
I'm excited to see your future. I'm one of your biggest supporters, bro.
Oh, you definitely are, man.
I know you're gonna make it big. You're gonna get everything you want.
I know. See, I know you. That is like some people say that. Like you really do mean that. Because I know if I'm not even in the room, you will be the guy to protect the name or to put me on to whatever it is, and that's hard to find. Again, I appreciate not just you being a client, but also being a friend. You know.
I'm excited for you, bro.
Yes,
this
sir.
is awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
No, anytime.